All right, guys, we're back. We got Seth from Copperstate,
Tater.
and we got some special guests here. Ben Milliken, Mr. Clifford Pirch. We got the weigh-in. All right, so if you guys don't know, if you guys haven't watched before, we're weighing on just some topics going around. We're gonna give you some fishing reports, local derbies, and we're gonna do a bunch of different things. We're gonna cover a bunch of maybe some little bit controversial topics and get some point of views, some insight from the guys that are out there doing it on the tour, as well as we've been fishing some local derbies. We got a local tournament winner yesterday. This guy right here nubbed us out. But hey, you know what? It was a fun time, and let's get it kicked off here. Tate, why don't you start us here?
Let's keep it local. We'll start off local.
Keep it local.
Yeah, tournament season's running right now. You got Lyle's, the Weekend Warrior Series started. Excuse me. Havasu region's going off, and then you got the Arizona region. First stop was just at Roosevelt this last weekend. Dudes got on them, a little under 20 pounds, took the dub, a couple 17-pound bags up there, but yeah, people are getting on there. Old Perch Sunday took the topwater derby, rigging with, what'd you have, 14?
50 something?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. He just won, whatever.
It was fun. All I know is it was fun, and we got us a little Super Bowl
bling,
ring out of it. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I don't know what you do with that, but you
big
don't
one.
fall in the lake with it. I know that.
That might take you
Taking
down.
me down. Yeah. It's like a drop shot.
No, it was tough out there. I mean, storms rolled in.
Yeah.
A bunch of crazy weather.
It was wet. Those past 2 days, I mean, it rained a ton, man. So stuff got washed in, got muddied up, but all the local stuff's kicking off good. Fishing 48 starting in January, so make sure you guys check all the schedules. Let's talk fishing and
Southwest is back they're at Pleasant this Saturday.
next weekend. Yeah,
That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah,
Pleasant's
that should be
fishing
fun. That's
really,
actually
really
been
good.
fishing really good. Yeah, so should be fun. So keep your guys' eyes out for all the schedules coming up. Get signed up, and it's always a good time out there on all those series.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit of fishing reports. We'll go through. I'm going to let Cliff over here cover Roosevelt because he beat me yesterday. Me and Joey Angelo took third in the topwater derby. It was a tough day, at least for us. I mean, this guy whacked 14 and a half. We had 11, and I thought for sure we were going to be way down there, but it was tough. But guys, let's start off at Saguaro. Ben and Tate were just at Saguaro. You guys are probably going to see some footage on that stuff. It's Saguaro. It's pressured. It's tough, but guys, there's always big fish to be caught there. My favorite way to catch them this time of year is around the grass. The grass is pretty freaking healthy there. Got a lot of areas with grass right now. You can find that sneaky patch and catch some bigs off of it. Favorite way to target them, chatterbaits. Definitely number one, the swank from 6 cents. Been catching a lot on that. A lot of guys sleep on that. Don't forget about that one. Let's go up to Canyon. Canyon actually fished last Thursday. And actually it was fishing okay. It's been fishing a lot better. Had a little bit of weather kick in, and Canyon's one of those lakes just like Saguaro. It's super fickle, feast or famine. Did catch a couple good ones. You'll see it on Southwest Fishing, his YouTube video. We did a little 2v2v2. Caught a 4.5 and a 5 on a dice. That was pretty cool, super fun. Live scoping them, but jerk baits have been kicking off really well there. Your dice baits, lots of jigs. Catch a lot of good ones too. Patchy's been on fire. Guys are catching a ton of fish on a drop shot there. Water's cooling down everywhere. Fish are starting to move a little bit more shallow in all of our lakes. Cliff, what about Rosie? Tell them a little about Rosie.
Roosevelt, I think, is probably our best lake right now for just good action and also the potential to catch a giant one. I had some buddies that lost like a 10-pounder in the Saturday derby, and they've just been catching giant ones there all year. So Roosevelt, it's my home lake, one of my favorite lakes. Out of traveling for 20-some years, my 4 biggest bass have still come out of Roosevelt. So it's kind of crazy.
All over the country.
Out of all over the country, yeah. So, but I love it. And this is a time of year where lots of things start happening. You've got a lot of shallow fishing going on, especially with that big storm Tate was talking about. Washed a whole lot of debris in the lake, a lot of off-color water. So a lot of good shallow stuff, top water, shallow crankbaits, flipping, all your little techniques that you'd like to use shallow, but still a good deep bite. Any ledge, point, break, rocky, hard spots, still going to hold offshore schools of fish. And so that's kind of the beauty of Roosevelt. There's just so much variety, lots of fish, and they bite when you find them. So that's a fun thing. We fished the Rico topwater tournament yesterday. You can throw a Rico topwater or a Persuader buzzbait.
I think you were throwing the Loco
Yeah,
Rico.
yeah,
I saw that. I was like,
we caught 'em.
okay.
We caught them all on the Loco Rico. We did catch 2 buzzbait fish that we culled out, but we probably got about 15 on the Rico, and just fun fishing. You know, this time of year you can really enjoy a good topwater deal. And it was off. I mean, honestly, it was post-frontal. The lake had just been really turned up with that storm, so kind of a jacked up time. And the weights were a little light for what we expected. We thought we might come in with a 7th or a 5th or something, but we snuck in there with a 14-pound wind. But in general, you know, and as the week goes on, we get further away from that storm, it'll be pretty good, and they'll kick off pretty good again.
If you had one bait from Copperstate to tell the viewers to take to Roosevelt, catch a bunch of fish right now, what would it be?
Without a doubt, it would be a cliffhanger worm. Obviously, I'm biased because that's my signature worm with big bite, but there's not a time of year that you couldn't catch one on a drop shot at Roosevelt and all of our desert lakes. That's one thing I love about the West, you know, all the way to about Texas, is a worm always catches them. Year round, it catches them. You can catch them on a drop shot worm. And so it's a fun way to get bites, especially if you're a newer angler or weekend angler. You can get bites that way. You don't have to go reinvent the wheel. Now, there's the beauty of bass fishing. There's so many ways to catch them. You know, that's why we have tackle shops lined with the walls with stuff. So, but if I had one thing, I would pick a cliffhanger worm. Roosevelt, natural colors when it's clear, and you know, especially going into the fall, things like southwesty, the cranberry color, some of the brighter, bolder colors as we go towards the fall, a lot of times are really good bite getters.
Heck yeah. And he's not lying. I mean, you're sponsored by Big Bait, but I've seen it. He catches the snot out of him on the cliffhanger. He really does, and it works. I've used them. I've picked up a couple. I'm not gonna lie, and they work, man.
I'm telling you, you're missing out if you're not using them, because it's built to be as good as any hand pour out of the West, but it's also got the power of like a power bait worm. It's like we wanted something so full of scent that it had the power bait effect and the robo worm, cliffhanger, everything else effect. So really, we wanted the best of every drop shot worm world to go into that worm.
Absolutely. Well, so cover last 2 lakes here really quick here, guys. Pleasant and Bartlett. Bartlett. Fish catching is shallow right now. Catching a ton of fish shallow. Check, make sure they've been closing the road to Bartlett every now and then. So check, make sure it's open. But your buzzbaits, your topwaters, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be really good right now. Square bills, chatterbaits. Pleasant has been fantastic. Topwater bite, dipper bite has just been off the chain there. You can crank them. You kind of catch them any way you want right now. There's a lot of fish actually moving in. I don't see this a whole, often at Pleasant, but there's a little bit of dinge, it seemed like, that in the lake, and it's been really, really good. You can catch them just about any part of the lake, and I mean, I caught them in the back of creeks all the way to the mouths of creeks, all the way in the main lake. It's been fishing really, really good. So you guys excited for that Southwest Customs tournament coming up? It's going to be a good tournament. But let's dive into the nitty gritty stuff, the fun stuff. So I got a question. Let's bring Ben on in here. Ben.
What's up?
All right, dude. So viewers want to know. We want to know inside scoop. I want to hear from both of y'all. But all right, so the no entry and the payouts in Bass Elite. What pros and cons? Pros and cons.
Yeah, I mean, we did the ABP group, I don't know, everyone got a say this year, and then we had our representatives, and we met as representatives of Bass constantly in the off season, and we polled our entire angler field. And the nice thing was Bass listened to us. As soon as, they came out with the no entry fee thing, that they announced it, and it sounded great at first, and then of course we saw what the payouts would be, especially after 5th, 6th, 7th place. Guys got extremely worried, and that was to be expected. And so, we went back to Bass as a group, and they said, fine, we're putting in, I don't know, 4.5 or $5 million into the pot either way, and you guys can decide what you're going to put in there. So really, I mean, we come back to the issue with every decision in the Elite Series in the top level, and that is we have 102 guys running 102 separate businesses with 102 different ideas of how it should be run. And so, we had a bunch of different ways, bunch of different brackets we put together to see, what payout system we want, how much we wanted to pay in, and it got voted into the one we put in, which was, we pay a $10,000 for the year entry fee.
Okay.
And so some guys were cool with that, some guys hated it, and no one was happy. Some guys were happy, depending on the tournament or the time of year, and seems like no one can be happy in bass fishing, and for the most part. But I think it was good to see that bass listened to us on that, and they allowed us to do what they want. I don't really know what the downfall for them would have been, no matter what we decided. Right. They were going to put in what they put in, but for me, I was a little disheartened by it. I liked fishing for a bigger amount of money. And I do think, as a fan watching the sport, even though there's zero effect on the fan based on what the payout is, I think your organization almost becomes more legitimized the more money that's in it, the more money for the first place, and that's just how I feel about it personally. I don't want to pay any entry fee if I don't have to, but at the same time, I think I'd be fine paying a $10,000 a tournament entry fee if we were fishing for $250,000 a tournament. Right. So. I don't know. Does it make it more legitimate if we have those payouts? If we get the Classic back to $500,000 for first place, I think it probably does a little bit. But it kind of is what it is in bass fishing when it comes down to it. I mean, Cliff can speak on this better than me, but payouts and everything hasn't increased at all for 15 years. The payouts are not any better than they were then with all the inflation we've experienced, which is kind of scary.
So that's kind of what I was poking on, right? Like, how do you continue the legacy of bass? I mean, bass has been around for I grew up watching. I'm sure a lot of us did. Yeah. How do you continue the legacy when you got inflation? We got boats for $110,000, on fully rigged out boats. Mm-hmm. How do you continue that legacy and not continue the up and pay? How do we get there? How do we get there?
We get there by having a product that is more viewable and easier to sell, which means if it's going to be easier to sell and better viewership, the format has to be more watchable. So, I think Cliff would agree, and anyone that fishes tournaments would agree. If you have, 8-hour-a-day tournament day for 4 days, you're going to find out who the best fisherman is that week. That's the way to do it. We know that as fishermen. But your average fishing fan, or even someone that just goes out and fishes, can't follow a 32-hour-long event, spread out 9 events over the course of 8-9 months. And so I think at some point we're going to have to change our format to make it more watchable, to bring in dollars from viewership or sponsorship or something. Because and it's not like it's completely illegitimized or the sport's dying or anything like that. It's always going to be around, but it's definitely it's not increasing in payout. And bass isn't going to just magically throw more than the $5 million or whatever they're putting in the pot every single year to offset that in a major way.
So good question, I think, for the viewers. I'm curious to see what they think. Drop a comment down below, guys. I want to know what y'all think on what Ben was saying here. How would you change the viewership? Do you watch all 4 days? Like, do these guys at home, do you watch and tune in all 4 days? Do you pop in? Do you just look at results? Like, what do you guys do? Comment down below. Curious y'all's thoughts on that, and what they think. So talking, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but like in bass and moving forward with bass, it's almost like the anglers are the one that sees the dead end of the stick when it comes to you get all these changes, you get more money from sponsorship, you see all this stuff. Like, how do we go forward and change it for the angler to make a living like we always all want to do fishing? How do you make money just fishing? You know what I mean?
Can't do it by just tournaments anymore. That's for sure. I obviously have a different background because I was working full time doing the filming and YouTube thing before I went to fish the tournaments. But more than ever, you can't have that be your source of income. It's impossible pretty much unless you come from a crazy amount of wealth. But that's just where what we're doing today. In Copperstate here, across the country, stopping in and meeting people and networking. If you're getting into it, man, you better start networking and going to every show and talking to everyone you know. Not be not asking what you can get from them, but how you can help them out, help these companies out in the industry, because the companies in the industry need it more than they ever have before too. So there's no perfect answer to that and how to just make things better. But, you know, I think the biggest issue I saw being part of that anglers board was, you know, the anglers all have different ideas, and until we can come together on some ideas to push it forward and stop, you know, nitpicking specific rules like what electronics we're using or what the no information rule will be, and start actually focusing on things to financially help us out in the sport, I think that's the only way to get moving forward. And I don't know if that's possible. I don't think it is.
What do you think, Cliff?
Well, I think Ben had a really good point. You've got 102 different business plans. You know, every angler is his own business, and you know, you got a guy that's coming in that's fresh and hot and ready to go. You got a guy that's, you know, been there a few years trying to make it. You got a guy that's, you know, 10, 15 years in, or you got a guy that made his whole living and he's trying to, you know, to finish out his career. You got all these different areas where people are coming from. And so, you know, like the no entry fee thing, I liked it. But I probably wouldn't have liked it 15 years ago, you know, or 20 years ago. But, you know, it just, I think it depends on where you're at in your career. You know, we always wanted to go to that. But now, yeah, when the paybacks come down, you're like, dang, I was kind of hoping we maybe could come up with some more sponsors to keep the payback up. And as far as the, you know, prestige, when you're talking about looking at an organization like, man, we want to be that, you want to find out how those paybacks can get up there. And, you know, can we find some more sponsors that benefit from being involved? And, you know, you know, you talk about the paybacks going down or staying the same. My first top 10, 21 or 22 years ago was my first tour season. That was on the MLF or the FLW side. My first season, my first top 10, I got fourth place. I got 40 grand for fourth place. And I paid a $2,000 or $2,500 entry fee. So a whole different world. And that's when a boat was 30-some thousand. It wasn't 110,000. So we're talking about a whole different change in a lot of different things. So I would love to see it get back to that. I don't know. You know, we always hear, hey, we're putting it in front of more people. We're giving you the opportunity to have this big platform and, you know, more eyeballs so you can run your business. So, you know, it costs a lot to have that platform. There's all kinds of dynamics that go into it, you know, from the Bassmaster side, from the angler side. So it's a pretty tricky deal. Yeah, we'd like to see better paybacks. I thought that when we, you know, like Ben was saying, there was a ton of complaints. Nobody's happy, you know, no entry fee, sounds like a great deal, then the payback looks terrible. Well, what I thought was, hey, we've made a milestone. People have been wanting this forever. And the first time somebody gets 20th place and posts that I got $578 was my check, you know, the embarrassment, I thought, you know what, that'll be a motivator. You know, somebody will be kind of like, oh, that's all you won? Well, that doesn't look very good. And I thought that would drive, you know, well, let's figure out a way to build this up, make it better. But like Ben said, there's 102 ideas on how to do stuff. It's really hard to bring guys together on it. I think it was a pretty good milestone to go to no entry, and then we kind of revoted to end up to put in 10 grand a piece. And so, you know, again, wherever you're at in your tournament career kind of made you settle on whether you liked it or not. So I kind of like it where I'm at because, you know, I've got a good sponsor backing. You know, for the first 10 or 15 years of my career, I didn't, and I needed to win a lot of money. And I made it on tournament winnings. You can't make it on tournament winnings anymore. So I feel like, you know, unless the payback comes way up, you know, I like the fact that it's not costing me 45 grand before I, you know, make a penny. Or, you know, I've got to win 45 grand and another, you know, 20, 30, or 40, depending on my travel costs to you know, get to zero. And, you know, it's, like I said, all kinds of different dynamics.
Yeah, it's a good
And,
point too with the no entry fee. That was a good milestone. I think that's what guys wanted forever.
Yeah.
And it's like the saying in business, you never want to be in the middle. You want to be the cheapest, or you want to be the most luxurious. So we kind of went with the middle.
Yep.
And
Dead on.
we could have stayed at 0 and really tried to boost that
Beef it
sponsor
up.
backing, or we could have gone the other way and increased the entry fees. And some of our payouts, look like more like the Bass Pro Tour with a $6,000 entry fee or whatever they've had. So
Now we are.
Now we are. Never mind.
All right, so Tate's got a great question here. Tate, what you got?
Yeah, so I was wondering, I don't know how we could fix this or how you could fix it or kind of merge it into one, but how do you guys feel about having, they're three major series at the professional fishing platform. And is that part of the reason, like, are sponsorship dollars going in too many different directions, to different leagues and everything, and it's splitting the bigger brands like Humminbird, Garmin, splitting their pockets too much? Would it fix a lot of the issue if there was just one main professional series to fish?
I don't think we've seen that yet because of 3 tours. I think we see that because of, say you've got a motor company, they've got a pie. Well, this pie is this big, so if you've got 2 tournament organizations or 3, not a big difference. But now you've got high school bass fishing, you've got college bass fishing, you've got AAA level bass fishing, you've got pro bass fishing, you've got kayak bass fishing, you have walleye fishing and trout fishing, and that's a huge one. Then you've got influencers. Yeah. So we've seen a huge change in the whole world of, advertising dollars for this pie goes into this business or the platform of fishing. So it's pretty tricky.
So you think it might not be stretched by the actual just 3 circuits, but how fishing's grown in general?
Definitely. Yeah. I don't think the addition of the NPFL hurts anything as far as like, hey, now there's 3 tour levels, or is there 3 or 2 plus 1? I don't think that hurts anything. I think it's the overall of like, holy smokes, this was all great ideas to build. Let's build it and have these extra. But guess what? Like,
There's only so many.
There's only so many people that want to invest in that. Yeah. And but also, we've never had live television coverage all Saturday morning, all Sunday morning on a major network, FS1. I think that's huge. I don't understand why that hasn't driven more, because we used to compile it into one hour show, and I don't know, that if you're on a major television network for 4 hours, 2 days on the weekend, and that's a lot of exposure. So hopefully there's some people out there that would go, we'd like to be in front of that many people. And hopefully the people that are marketing those spots will find them. But that is kind of confusing to me. We've got more than an hour on television. There's a lot more eyes that watch. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yep.
It's all tricky.
I agree. Tricky. It's so tricky. And it's a really ugly thing people don't want to talk about too, that kind of happened with the COVID and everything during about that time frame. All the private equity companies that came in and purchased the smaller fishing companies, the mom and pop companies. Yep. Those are, for the large majority of those companies are not fishermen. They're not run by the CEOs, and the people that are making the money are not fishermen. And so all of our money that we're spending on so many different things in the industry is leaving the fishing industry. That's the main reason why there's not money in the fishing industry for the anglers. So like that's 100%. And it's an ugly thing to talk about, and guys don't want to talk about it. And a lot of guys are sponsored by these companies that are owned by giant corporations, and that's fine. It's the only way they can make a living in fishing. That's great.
So we just need more fishing CEOs.
We
need fishermen, CEOs. Where you at?
we need those companies that own the conglomerates to put the money back into fishing. But why would they? They don't care about it. Honestly, right. When it comes down to it, they're trying to numbers on a spreadsheet. Yeah, they're publicly traded companies. They're trying to get money back to investors when it comes back to it. So
Well,
That's tough.
Let's move on to a more fun topic. Okay. All right. So we got a little out there. So that was good. That was great info, guys. Super appreciated that. Let's talk forward facing. I mean, it's always a hot topic, right? So what do we have for our forward facing question for these boys?
Yeah, so the new split with the series coming up, you got is it 5 with it and then the 4 without it? Yep. Is that how they're splitting it? So is that really going to even the playing field, or is it going to be the same young cats you guys seeing up top? How do you guys feel about
how's it going to affect
really...
everything?
I think it'll have zero effect. If we wanted to make a difference on who was in the top of the leaderboard and who had a competitive advantage, I think the biggest thing would be to take out pre-practice. That's how you have the guys that have been in the leagues for a long time, that we go back to a lot of the same fisheries. They have the advantage then, or in theory, they have some advantage. But that's why guys like, me and Cliff, that we do things in the off season and have jobs. We can't go pre-practice for a month at every single lake on the schedule. And a lot of these guys that don't, they can. You show up to a lake, we go into 10 killer this year, which we'd been to 10 killer once. But out in North Carolina, we go to these fisheries that we haven't really been to before when bass picks some new locations. And a lot of these dudes have gone out and they've pre-practiced for 2-3 weeks at some of these places every single day in the off season. And pre-practice can hurt you. It can help you, it can hurt you. So it can go both ways. But I really feel like if we wanted to take away the younger advantage, or the advantage of someone that has more money, or not any obligations in the off season, then that's the way we could go with it. But I think a lot of the same people are going to be dominating.
I'm with you on that 100%. Because right, like you said, 4 days fishing shows the skill set, right? Like, shows who's on and who's not. But I think you bring up a really interesting topic with the no practice. Mm-hmm. And I believe MLF did that at first, right? When they first started out, they flew them in and they had their own boats.
Well, yeah, when it was MLF Select Show, when everyone, that was like my favorite format to watch.
Yes,
it's impossible to do with a 100 boat field. But when we start talking about different formats that are more watchable, that's pretty damn cool. 100%. And that's cool for a fisherman too, showing up with, everyone's got the same equipment, same boats, and a lake that you have no idea you're going to be there, and you just go. That's cool. But
it almost goes back to that very, very old Bassmaster when they was it the Bassmaster Classic, like when they used to fly them in? Yeah. They didn't know anything.
First couple.
So do you think it would take away the advantage if, instead of changing these forward-facing rules and all these electronic rules, we change in bass, okay, hey, you're only allowed to practice in the official practice days, that's it. You think that would change the
Yeah.
Yeah? So these guys can't go out off-season for a month on these lakes?
No, I think so for sure, yeah. Especially a lot of the guys that are great offshore fishermen, they show up at a lake with, they know every part of the lake,
right.
And you're not going to figure things out you're not going to figure a pattern out, 3 months in advance. But you're going to figure out where a population of fish lives, and then break down every single stump in that area, and then you don't got to go show people that in practice. So,
Right.
No, that's a really good point that Ben's making, and when you are fresh in your first year or 2 or 5 years, or you're 20 years old. You're going to be able to go spend your whole year on the road. Now, if you want to have a family, or if you want to last in the career for more than what an NFL career would look like, or more than,
or have a second job like most guys do
when you want to make it for a long time, you can't continuously go spend weeks at everywhere we go. It's just impossible. And so I think that is a good point. You just, when you're young or ready to go, not many things like a family or career tying you down. It works pretty good. It's easy to run around and go to those places. And when you come in back in a while back, you couldn't have had this kind of knowledge. Now people get to start. They've watched everywhere we go. You can see live everybody in real time. You know exactly the deals, so the learning curve is way, way, way faster. Mm. When I started, there were secrets. There were things that you couldn't know until you went to a part of the country where you got your teeth kicked in to find out that this is what happens in this part of the country when this happens, or this season or this, whatever event. And so the knowledge that a guy starts out with at 19, 20 to 25 is way different now than what it was, 20 years ago. And when you've got that much knowledge, you've got that much energy, you've got that much freedom, yeah, you're going to be hard to beat. And, you hear all the debates and the old guys are crying, or all the young guys don't like the fact that we, went to half of the events. There's all kinds of drama. But you got to look at where people are at in their career. There's a reason for a lot of it, you know what I mean? And I got into fishing, and people in my era got in looking at what fishing was, at the people that led, ahead of you. And so you've got this picture of, okay, this is what I've got to do to make a career. And, fishing changes. So you got to adjust with those changes. But more recently, the changes are rapid and wide, big changes.
It's kind of like the first time that bass fishing has ever been like more of a major sport, like every other sport, where guys aren't just kind of like getting pushed out because they're retiring because they can't do it anymore. They're getting pushed out by talent. They're getting pushed out because they're not qualified, like me.
Well, and Ben, I want to interrupt you. I wouldn't say it's talent.
Right.
I mean, yes, there's talent, but you've got talent getting pushed out. So I kind of disagree with you. Don't label it as talent.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of guys that I think when we start hearing about the older generation, some of the generalities that we're hearing, there's a lot of people that are just uncomfortable with, how things have changed with college fishing and high school fishing, and those anglers getting into our sport being so dominant, so good when they get there. It's starting to look a lot more like a real sport where you're not going to be able to do it when you're 60 plus years old anymore. It seems like there's going to be your rare instances, and that number is probably going to keep dropping lower and lower all the time. So it's an interesting time in the sport.
I feel like college fishing, not so much high school, but more college than anything, has affected how fast kids come into this game. Because I have some college friends that are in college. James Murphy going to Baylor, Dash Dawson, Nolan Smith, a bunch of these kids, and they literally get to go fish anywhere, whenever they want.
Yeah.
Think about if we all had that kind of time or money, whatever it may be, right? And you go fish this lake, that lake, and all of a sudden now I know Hartwell, I know Rayburn, I know all the sneaky sneaks.
Yeah.
Or I found new sneaky sneaks, right? Like, I think that's just impacted the sport in a huge way in the advantage of the young kid.
Yeah, and they're fishing the same lakes we're fishing too.
Exactly.
I mean, not to take anything away from them, but like I had never been to Hartwell before this year in my life. I'm 36, and I went back and looked at some tournament results, and like Tucker Smith and Easton Fothergill have fished like 15 college tournaments.
Right.
Like they know it
extremely
well, even though they're 20.
Yep.
So it's wild.
It's a whole different thing. Because back in the day, that's not the deal. You're kind of on a level playing field unless you live close to it, and that's why I think if you watch like all the old Bassmasters, they always focus on the local guy that and they usually do fairly well.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see how the sport's changed. Hopefully it can continue to grow in the right way. I kind of had an interesting idea from somebody. That said, well, why don't we do fishing like baseball or football or anything? Why don't we have teams across the country in different regions, and you grow it into like a basketball or baseball?
There's been chatter of things like that happening. I think different types of leagues and stuff have been talked about. It just never gets the funding and the legs behind it. That's why I've had that comment from a lot of people since I didn't requalify this year, potentially. They're messaging me like, why don't you just start your own league where, F bass and all this. And I'm like, they put $5 million into the pot every year.
It's a lot of money, guys.
Half the elites are going to come fish the Ben Milliken tour when I don't have $5 million to put in and the payouts are terrible. So it's super tough to get 5, 8, 10, 15 guys together on the same page for the same cause and have like more of a a salary coming in,
Right.
And people paid based on what you're.
You have a draft. I mean,
it'd be really cool.
that'd be really freaking cool.
Yeah. It would just take a lot of funding to get something off the ground like that.
Right.
And it might be coming. I've talked to some guys that have the money to do it, but I don't know if it's gonna ever take.
That'd be really. I mean, it'd be really cool. It'd be really cool. What do you comment down below, guys? I want to know what y'all think about that stuff right there. We really appreciate, especially Ben traveling all the way across the country. He's gonna be fishing his first U.S. Open at Lake Mojave, so look for him. Check him out there. Don't bug him too much. He's trying to find fish, guys. All right,
it's okay.
But and then Cliff's obviously going to be there. How many have you won?
3 U.S.
Three U.S. Opens.
No.
You're in good company, Ben. You're in good company.
Apparently. Those were at Lake Mead. Mojave's a different animal.
It is
a different era. I feel like I could win there because I love desert fishing the Southwest, but it's a different animal on Mojave.
Absolutely. Well, again, we appreciate both y'all coming out. Thanks for being here. Hopefully we didn't put it too hard on you guys.
That was a good time.
Good times. That's the win.
Later. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.